Okay, we're good. We're live now.
Okay. Thank you, Kamal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the June 9th regular meeting of the Community Development Commission of Chicago. I'm Chairman Jorge Perez and the host of this virtual meeting. The meeting is being held on Zoom in accordance with the Commission's emergency rules issued pursuant to the emergency order adopted by the City Council on April 24th of this year. Commissioners, you've been all designated as panelists, which means that you will be able to control your microphone. Please remember to place your mic on mute unless you need to speak. If you want to be recognized by the chair, activate the raise your hand feature and you will be called in order. A court reporter is present today to record the proceedings. The CDC's emergency rules require that any member of the public wishing to comment on the agenda item in advance would have to register in advance at the CDC's email mailbox in up to 24 hours before today's meeting. With no registrations received by that deadline, no public comment will be heard today at today's meeting. So with that, I will begin the meeting with a call of the roll. Vice Chair Newsom.
Yes, here.
Secretary Butler.
Present.
Commissioner Brooks.
Present.
Commissioner Buford. Commissioner Cepeda. Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Curtis.
Present.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Rhodes.
Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Present.
And Commissioner Wheat.
Here.
All right, we have quorum. First item on the agenda for today, request approval of the minutes.
Commissioner Davis is here, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I thought I was on.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. The first item on the agenda, request approval of the minutes of the March 10th CDC meeting. The commissioners have had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if there's no corrections, I'm looking for a motion to approve. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Is that Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
State your name if you say it.
Commissioner Brooks, second.
Commissioner Brooks, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, the ayes have it. The minutes of the March 10th meeting are approved. Okay, the first item of business on today's agenda, request authority to acquire the property located at 600 to 1243 West Division Street, 1301 North Elston Avenue, 1210 North Branch Street, 1192 Cherry Avenue, 1162 and 1201 North Hickory Avenue, 1111 and 1460 North Hooker Street, 1200 North Kingsbury Street, 1160 North Halsted Street, and 1203 North Orchard Street in the North Branch, South Goose Island, and near North Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project areas. The acquisitions are required for public way improvements associated with replacement of the Division Street bridges across the North Branch of the Chicago River and the North Branch Canal. Solomon Kudera will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Transportation. Mr. Kudera, when you are ready, you can go ahead. Kamal, is his mic on?
Yeah, do you see my screen?
Yes, yes, Solomon.
Well, thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner. Again, my name is Solomon Kudera, and I am with the Chicago DOT. The project we are presenting today is the Division Street Improvement Project from the Kennedy Expressway to Cleveland Avenue. And we are seeking your approval of acquisition authority of the land that associated with this project. So I'll start with the project location. The project is on Division Street from the Kennedy Expressway on the west to Cleveland Avenue on the east. Cleveland is very close to Claiborne Avenue, and the expressway is, of course, very close to Elston Avenue. So the green area shown on the screen is the footprint of the project limit, which is about 1 mile roadway on Division Street. This picture shows an aerial of the project. The area in purple is the limit of the project, again, from the Dan Ryan I-90 on the west, Cleveland on the east. It's about 1 mile of roadway. The project also includes removal and replacement of 2 bridges. The first bridge is this one on the west, which is the Division Street Bridge over the river. And the other bridge is this one, which is the Division Street Bridge over the canal. The community areas involved are 2 community areas, Area 24 and Area 8. And the maps of the areas are shown. The tax increment fund, the TIF district, there are 3 districts within the project limit. The first one is the North Branch South TIF district, and the map is shown, the Goose Island TIF district, and the near North TIF district. And this map shows, again, the project limit. So that's the Division Street, bridge over the canal, bridge over the river. And it shows the 3 TIF district, North Branch South, bounded by those 2 dotted lines, the Goose Island TIF district, bounded by those 2 dotted lines, and on the east, the near North TIF district. The project needs and goals. The existing bridge over the river is we classified as structurally deficient and functionally obsolete. It's basically structurally deteriorated and functionally obsolete. It's too narrow to accommodate traffic. There's a constant traffic jam, especially during rush hour, and that part of Division Street just becomes a deadlock. The bridge over the canal is existing as a temporary. We have only a temporary bridge, and of course that requires replacement with a permanent bridge. The road is narrow and it needs to be widened to ameliorate the traffic congestion. Bottlenecks exist. The trucks having hard time making a left turn into the intersecting street on the island. So that's the slight widening that we are proposing to widen Division Street by 2 to 4 feet, very slight widening, only between 2 to 4 feet, 2 to 6 feet on the north side of Division to resolve all those issues, mainly the traffic issue. Currently, there are no bike or pedestrian accommodations, and the project will accommodate pedestrian and bicyclists in much better way. And also, as part of our design, we will design the bridges to accommodate future riverwalk projects whenever funding for those separate projects will be available. But we're designing those bridges to be ready for future riverwalks whenever the funding is secured. The proposed improvement, the green area, again, it shows the project footprint. Elston, we're just going very close to the expressway on the west. This is a river bridge. Also the intersecting street will be improved only as needed. We are not going into those intersecting streets. And then continue on the bottom, the second bridge will be replaced, and then the rest of the existing roadway will be improved up to Cleveland Avenue on the east. The main project element, replace the 2 bridges. Both of them will be replaced. We will widen Division Street by 2 to 6 feet. And the only way we could do this is by partially acquiring the adjacent properties. And also the roadway will be improved by new pavement, new street lighting, new traffic signals throughout the corridor. And also we are installing a new traffic signal at Hickory at this location, and landscaping. This is a rendering of the river bridge, the bridge over, that's Elston on the left. So it will look modern, much more interesting than the existing bridges. And this one is a rendering of the canal bridge, the division over canal. Very similar bridges, but they're very interesting. We hope that they will improve the area aesthetically. As far as traffic closures during construction, we will have very minimal, if any. So the way we will do this project is, again, this is Division Street, that's Hollisted, and that's the canal. The way we will do this, we will be building temporary bridges. So this bridge will be a temporary, and a temporary roadway will connect into this temporary bridge and then comes back. And while the traffic is flowing on this temporary bridge, we will be removing and constructing the new bridge at this area. So we try to do minimal, especially for that area where it's a heavy industry and traffic. We could not have a longer or a long detour for such a major street. So that's over the canal. And this one is the same thing over the river. So again, we'll be building this temporary road, temporary bridge, and then comes back into the Elston intersection. And to build those bridges, of course, that way we will need a temporary easement from the adjacent properties, as I will show in the next slides. The project funding, it's mainly funded by TIF throughout those 3 TIF districts, but we also, in the phase 1 design, we did have some funding from federal and state fund. So the total project funding is about $68.3 million. That's the current fund. And to the properties that require acquisition, as I mentioned earlier, the roadway will be widened. And to be able to widen the road, we need to acquire those additional strips of land on the north, mainly on the north side of Division. We also will require to acquire a temporary easement, TEs. Temporary easement, those temporary easement, they will be only acquired on a temporary basis during construction. And at the end of the construction, we restore those properties and turn them into back to the ownership of the existing owner, adjacent owner. So those are temporary easement. The good thing is there is no relocation of any occupant required as part of this project. And there is no, we are not affecting any existing building. All those lands or part of the land that we'll be acquiring are either on a grass area or part of a parking lot, but they're all, or some of them, a lot of them are vacant land. So hence there is no relocation of any occupant. We are not modifying, touching any of the existing buildings. And those maps shows the properties that we are seeking to acquire. The green area is temporary easement. And again, those are easements that we need as the land that we acquire on a temporary basis to use during construction. At the end, we turn it back to the adjacent owner. And the one on the next slide that's shown in purple color, those are the properties that we we will be acquiring, we'll need to acquire them. So on this one, Division Street is here, Elston is on this alignment, and we have two parcels, one is here and one is here that we will need to acquire on a temporary basis. And you might, if you are asking, why is this too wide? Because we will be building the temporary bridge, the one I showed in the previous slides. So those are temporary easement on this slide. Going further going east, this is the second slide, which is the river, the North Branch of the Chicago River is here. North Branch Street is there, and the Cherry Avenue is here. So we have 2 blocks on Division Street. The green area is, again, all the green areas are temporary. The temporary bridge or the roadway will be built here. We already coordinated with this owner. This is the parking lot that we will be temporarily acquiring. And at the end of the construction, as I mentioned, it will be restored to its original condition and returned to the current owner. So temporary easement, temporary green, this is also temporary. And the one shown in purple are a partial take of those properties. Those, of course, go through our normal process of property acquisition, which is appraisal and appraisal review, and then negotiation, and then the take. So in this one, there is 6 feet of land of parcel that we will need to acquire. And also at the corner, traffic are having hard time making this type of movement from North Branch into Division. So we needed those triangles to improve the turning radius at those intersections. Same thing here. And the same thing here, very small triangle from this property. Again, all of those are vacant land, it's lands, it is not building. There are no building that will be affected. So this one is a parking lot, this one also is a parking lot, and so on. So those are the next 2 blocks. And then going further east, so from Cherry, this is Cherry, Hickory, and Hooker. Same thing, temporary easement green, triangles for improving the turning radius. Trucks are having a hard time making those turn. And there's no turn lane. So part of the project will be also installing turn lanes to make sure that the Goose Island is functional for the industries and the adjacent buildings and businesses. Again, triangle, permanent take and temporary take, or temporary easement. And the same thing here, that's this land happened to be owned by CTA, but it's a vacant land. Not a vacant, I shouldn't say vacant land. It's a land. It is no building on it. And then keep going further east. This is Hooker, the canal, and this is Hollisted. Again, temporary easement to be able to build the bridge across the canal. And a strip of land, I think this one is only 4 feet wide. This is 4 feet wide. A triangle to improve the traffic turning, and another to improve the traffic turning. And the last right-of-way map is this one. This is Hollisted. Division is here, of course. Hollisted Street, and we will be acquiring. This is it's a CTA. I'm sorry, CHA vacant land. So we'll be acquiring 4 feet wide and another about 4 or 5 feet wide for the temporary easement to be able to widen and do the construction. Same thing here at the corner of Hollisted and Division, taking this land to improve the functionality of the roadway. So that takes care of the land that we will need to acquire, the parcels that we'll need to acquire. As far as the project schedule, we are currently in the design phase. We are scheduled to complete the design phase by first quarter of 2021. And then construction is scheduled to start in the third quarter of 2022 and substantially completed by the fourth quarter of 2022. So it's about a 1.5 year project. So that's my presentation, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Solomon. Just want to check, did any other commissioner join us while we were listening to Solomon's presentation? All right. If not, I see that Alderman Burnett is on. Alderman, if you'd like to say something on this project,
yes,
welcome to do so.
Yeah, I think it's a worthy project. I just want to make sure that, and I know we've been working on this for a long time, and thank God we do have healthy tips in this area. So I just want to ask, is it Solomon, did any of the businesses have a challenge?
Challenge, you mean as far as when we acquire the properties, or what kind of challenge?
So I know you're saying some properties you're not gonna acquire, but you're gonna shorten the sidewalks?
We will acquire the of about 2 to 4 feet, 2 to 6 feet on the north side of Division. And some of those lands are either a grass area, landscaped area, so it will not affect the existing property at all. There is one property that the building is directly at the edge of this 4 feet that we will be acquiring. So that's why we limited for that building. We will be acquiring only 4 feet.
So which property was that? Sorry.
That's I believe it's the Gold Coast. Let me go there. There's
The Gold Coast.
Yeah, the Gold. And I already, Alderman, again, Alderman, thank you for your help throughout the years about this project. We have been, I know, talking about it for a while.
Yeah. So Gold Coast had called me some time ago. That's why I was asking.
Correct. What I did, Alderman, I talked to him. Actually, I met him a couple of times in presentation to North Branch Works. He came a couple of times, and I believe this is his building. And for that, we are acquiring only to the face of the building. So after we acquire this 4 feet wide land, the face of the building, the face of his building will be his property line. So it's not going to affect his building at all,
So
and he's okay with it.
So they won't have sidewalks.
Correct. The sidewalk will be on a city property. So it's very similar to in downtown, where the face of the building is the property line and the city sidewalk is directly abutting the building.
Oh, so you saying that there will be a sidewalk.
Correct. There will be a
so,
sidewalk.
So you just move the sidewalk over.
Exactly.
How wide will the sidewalks be?
7.5 feet. The total width of the sidewalk will be 7.5. The north edge of the sidewalk is his building, and then going south, that is the total width of the sidewalk.
Okay,
So
and he was okay with that.
He was okay. He was fine with it. Yeah.
Right. That's the only call I got on this that I received on this whole project. So that's what I was asking. Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Commissioners, we'll open it up for questions. I'm going to open up this participants panel, and just if you can, if you have questions, just press the raise your hand function. And I'll scroll through this and call on you. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, but I can't find the raise your hand function.
Commissioner Butler, go ahead.
Yes, just a question on the width of the sidewalks on the bridges, please. What are the widths?
Yes, Commissioner, the width will be, I believe, at least 7.5 feet wide sidewalk.
On the bridge?
Correct.
And does that allow for kind of movement in both directions, east and west?
Yes, we will have sidewalk on both sides of the bridge. Each one is at least 7.5 feet wide. And yes, they do allow for east-west movement. The minimum is 6 feet. We're providing 7.5.
Okay.
Thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioners, any other questions?
Commissioner Brooks,
Go ahead, Commissioner Brooks.
just a question on the more clarity on the total time frame of the project and the impact, anticipated impact as it relates to vehicle traffic, obviously with impacting the bridges. Any studies done on how it will affect?
Sure. Yeah, Commissioner, what we did, since the project is at least a year and a half long, we could not recommend a detour. Normally those projects have a detour. So what we are going to do, I don't know if you can see this picture, we will be building a temporary bridge over the canal and the same thing over the river. And this temporary bridge will be connected by a temporary roadway. So this is happened to be Hollisted Street Division, and this one is Hooker. So the traffic will be able to go east and west on Division uninterrupted by the construction. And that will be throughout the duration of the project. And the same thing, this is the second temporary bridge. Division is here, Elston is this one. We'll be building this, reconfiguring this intersection with a temporary traffic signals. So my answer is that the knowing that this is a major street, major businesses in the area, and it's a major thoroughfare in and out into the city, we will not disturb the traffic. There might be short closure to the to Division when we move the bridge or but that will be short-term closure, maybe I would say a week to 2 week maximum. We detour the traffic, but the remaining year and a half, it's no disturbance to the traffic.
And the width of the temporary bridges is?
They can accommodate one lane in each direction as shown here. I think I have here it is. This is a cross section of the bridges. They can accommodate, there is a sidewalk for pedestrian, and then there are one lane in each direction. And also, since people will be using this as bikes, and we are also providing bike lanes. So the total width of the bridge, I can estimate about 40 feet, plus minus.
And how does that compare to the existing bridge today?
The existing bridge today, it can accommodate only one lane in each direction.
Okay.
And so keeping one lane in each. However, the permanent bridge, as I showed the render, the permanent bridge.
I have two.
Two, yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, give me a second here. Vice Chair Newsom? You're muted, Vice Chair Newsom. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're live.
Okay, my question is, are there any major improvements on any of this temporary land that is being acquired?
Commissioner, as part of this project, if you are asking any other related to this project, we are not.
The land that you will be returning to the owners at the completion of the project.
We are not aware of. There were one development on a land it's just west of this bridge. There were one proposal to develop the land, but we talked to them. As far as we are concerned, there were none. Hold on one second. Yeah, it's this land. I think there were a project that came about 2-3 years ago, and we coordinated with them. And the latest is we already talked to them, and they are fine with us taking this as a temporary easement. What they did, they had a major plan to redevelop this land, but I think they elected on rehabbing the existing building. So that was one. And the other one that we were aware of is this one. There were also a plan that was a preliminary plan that was submitted to the city. And as I remember, more than probably 2 or 3 years ago, that there were a development on this that was going to happen on this land. And we already talked to them that we will be needing this land for a temporary purpose. They're okay with this one, but this one is the major. And since then we have not heard. So I would, Commissioner, I would answer your question that all the development that was presented to us and we are aware of, we coordinated with them and they are fine with this plan that we are proposing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas?
Thank you. I was wondering if there is another location where you've used temporary bridging in the past?
Yes, Commissioner, this was used, to my knowledge, only once in the city, and that on North Avenue. North Avenue Bridge was replaced, very similar project, and I believe was around the year maybe 2002, 2003, roughly, and they did exactly same arrangement. A temporary bridge that was installed on the south side of the existing North Avenue Bridge. Construction was complete, and it worked very well. There was no detour, and everybody doesn't like detour. So that's the only precedence I know is the North Avenue project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Curtis?
Yes, I'm looking at the map and I'm wondering if there are any businesses that we will be taking out of business during the construction period. I'm looking at the Target store there, for example, and a few other businesses along Division. Will they have access during the construction period?
Yes, Commissioner. We all of those businesses and buildings, and I know the Target is right there. There's also townhouses on the south side. All of those will have full access to their businesses or properties or a driveway during construction. We will not block the construction. What we do, as you know, during design, we plan for those things, but when the construction starts, there's more coordination with all those buildings to make sure that they have full access. But we are not relocating, and we are not blocking any access to any of those properties.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Solomon, you said that there's been, this project has been a long time in the making. Can you give me how long? Is it more than 10 years or?
Sure. The Chairman, the project start with this phase. As you know, our project has 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, and construction is phase 3. So phase 1 has been a long time, and I believe it started at least, I'm just going to say at least 6-7 years ago, if not a little more. The reason why, because one of the main reasons were those 2 bridges are historic bridges. And before we were able to demolish the one over the canal, extensive coordination with the State Historic Preservation Office had to be done. For the river bridge, which still is a historic bridge, more than 100-year-old bridge, we're still coordinating with them to obtain their approval on the removal and replacement. The other thing that also why the project took a while, because the river bridge is under the jurisdiction of the Coast Guard, and also the Coast Guard does not like to lose those what was at one time movable bridges, and right now we want to replace them with fixed bridge. So we again coordinated with them to come up with the proper type of the type of the bridge. Now, phase 2 we started toward the end of 2019. Phase 2 engineering, and it's scheduled, and we are on schedule to finish it, to complete it by 2021. And then, of course, construction will start in phase 3, third quarter of 2021. Because it's a mile-long project, because of those 2 historic bridges, the Coast Guard are involved. Those type of project has so many elements that require a lot of coordination, and that's the reason for the long period.
Okay. Alderman Burnett, I see you have your hand up. You're on mute. Go ahead, you're live.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to listen to this funeral also at the same time. But one of the things, this is a very large project, a lot of TIF dollars. We need to make sure that we have sufficient percentage of minorities working on this project, right? And we don't need those companies that do the fluff stuff, and they get it, say they put it on the application that they have minorities on it, and then when they get the job, you don't see anyone. So we need to make sure that they work, and this is right in the shadows of the Cabrini Green area. I need to make sure that folks from that community are able to have opportunity to work. This work is going to be going on for some time, and we need to make sure that this thing is done right. I trust the commissioner, who actually lives not too far from this project. You know, she actually lives in the near north area, close to Cabrini Green, and she understands what I'm saying. We need to make sure that these folks have an opportunity to work on this project too. So maybe not here, but I like for someone from transportation to talk to me about this. I need to be able to sit down with these companies that if you bidded out the contract already, I need to sit down with the companies who you bidded it to. It would be great if they did the same thing that they do with some of the planned developments that go on in the city. And a lot of the planned developments in my ward, what we do is make them joint contract with a minority contractor. I think if you encourage these contractors to do a joint venture with a minority contractor, you don't have to worry about them subbing it out. You don't have to worry about them hiring minorities. It's a done deal. So I'd like for you all to consider that if you haven't bidded it out already.
Yeah, it's not bid yet, Alderman. It will be bid. It will be advertised for construction bidding by early, maybe first quarter of 2021. So we have.
And that's only necessary if you don't have a minority prime, which you should start doing anyway, having minority primes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Seeing none. I'm going to call the item up for a vote. So this resolution before us requests authority to acquire the property located at 600 to 1243 West Division Street, 1301 North Alston Avenue, 1210 North Branch Street, 1192 North Cherry Avenue, 1162 and 1201 North Hickory Avenue, 1111 and 1460 North Hooker Street, 1200 North Kingsbury Street, 1160 North Halsted Street, and 1203 North Orchard Street in the North Branch, South Goose Island, and near North Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project areas. The acquisitions are required for the public way improvements associated with replacement of the Division Street bridges across the North Branch of the Chicago River and the North Branch Canal. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is
Is
that
Curtis?
Commissioner Brooks? Is that Commissioner Curtis?
Curtis?
Okay, that's motion by Commissioner Curtis. Do I have a second?
Second by Commissioner Davis.
Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right. All right, commissioners, I'll now call the roll. Those in favor signify by saying aye or yes, and those opposed say no or nay. Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Newsom. Commissioner Newsom,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat,
Yes.
and Commissioner Perez votes yes. Then the motion is carried. Thank you very
Commissioner,
much, Solomon. Yes,
you didn't call me. I came in late.
it's Commissioner Buford. All right, so let's let the record reflect that Commissioner Buford has joined the meeting. So Commissioner Buford, what say you on this matter?
Aye.
Okay, I have it recorded. Thank you.
So thank you, commissioners. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate all your public service. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Alderman Burnett.
And Alderman Burnett, thank you for always bringing to the forefront important issues in terms of how these projects are bidded and staffed and all of those kinds of things. This is important, and keeping it at the forefront is really important. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, the final item of business on today's agenda, request authority to advertise the Department of Planning and Development's intention to enter into a negotiated sale with Neighbor Space for the disposition of the property known as the El Paseo Garden at 947 West Cullerton Street in the Pilsen Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to Neighbor Space if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Nelson Chung will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. Mr. Chung, when you're ready, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen right now. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Nelson Chung. I'm representing the Department of Planning and Development. The proposed project today is a city disposition of 947 West Cullerton Avenue or Cullerton Street to Neighbor Space in support of the El Paseo Community Garden. The project is located in Pilsen within the Lower West Side community area and within the Pilsen Tax Increment Financing District. The conveyance property consists of one parcel, approximately 0.43 acres in size, zoned for residential use, and is located in the 25th Ward. This next slide shows the location of the project within the Pilsen TIF. It's located along Sangamon Avenue, 2 blocks west of Halstead and 2 blocks north of Cermak. The Pilsen TIF was initially established in 1998, and its primary purpose was to revitalize the industrial corridor and its commercial areas to support the community.
Nelson, if I could just interject, were you in the mode of going through the slides? Because the slides haven't moved on my end.
Oh, they have not.
No, it's still, I could see your desktop and you're still at the first slide. So I don't know if you clicked your
hold on
mode.
a second. Let me start and stop again.
Okay.
Sure.
There you go.
Is it advancing?
Yeah, you're at your first slide, full screen. So I think you're good. There you go.
Okay, all right. Let me catch up here. Thank you guys, Chairman, for noticing this. I'm going to backtrack a second here. The project's located in Pilsen. You can see from the slide, it's in the Lower West Side community area within the Pilsen Tax Increment Financing District. The conveyance parcel consists of one parcel, approximately 0.43 acres in size, and zoned for residential use and located in the 25th Ward. This next slide shows you the location of the project within the Pilsen TIF, located along Sangamon Avenue, approximately 2 blocks west of Halstead and 2 blocks north of Cermak Road. The Pilsen TIF was initially established in 1998, and primary purpose was to revitalize the industrial corridor and its commercial areas to support the community. Community Development Commission approval is required for the proposed land disposition because of the project's location within the tax increment financing redevelopment area. These next few slides provide more context on the project's location. This is an aerial map showing the location of disposition parcel in red. On the bottom is Cermak Road, and Canal Port is on a diagonal toward the bottom as well too. The site is located next to the Olivio Medical Center. This is a zoning and parcel map showing again the disposition parcel in red. I will point out in this map that Sangamon Street diverts traffic to the east and west at Cullerton Street. Sangamon Avenue south of Cullerton is platted, but is not improved as a roadway. It is within that platted area that the initial El Paseo Garden is located. I also like to provide a little context of where the community garden is located along the proposed Paseo Trail. The Department of Plan Development and the Department of Transportation is actively engaged with BNSF Railroad to acquire the abandoned rail line along and adjacent to Sangamon Avenue, as shown in the blue highlighted area. This first segment of the Paseo starts at 16th Street and follows south along Sangamon Avenue toward Cullerton and Canalport. The existing El Paseo Neighbor Space Community Garden is shown in orange, and the expansion parcel is shown in green, which is the subject of this CDC action. The initial El Paseo Garden was created in 2009 through a public way agreement with CDOT. The photo on the left shows you the condition of the space before the garden, and the photo on the right shows you the condition of the garden as it is today. Programming of the garden includes native plantings, an apiary, a mural on the adjacent building, and community vegetable beds. The garden uses are primarily composed of residents from Pilsen. These are some of the photographs of the program that has been taking place at the El Paseo Community Garden. The image in the upper right is a mural that was done collaboratively and installed on the building facing the garden itself. And the other image just shows you the images of the community garden beds and some of the events been hosted at the El Paseo Garden. More recently, the El Paseo Garden partnered with the architecture students from UIC to create a nature play inspired outdoor classroom and shed. This effort resulted in receiving a MacArthur Foundation Creative Placemaking Award for this year. And you can see that they have been very successful partnering with neighborhood projects to really get people's focus, people's attention in this community garden. This bird's eye view shows you the existing neighbor space garden in orange. And on the right-hand side is the future Paseo. Building efforts, the El Paseo Garden is proposing to expand onto the 947 Cullerton property, which is located at the north end of the garden, which I'll focus on in the next slide. The 947 Cullerton property was historically a site of a former Lowenthal metal smelting company. It has stopped operating in the 1950s, and the Illinois EPA discovered high levels of lead contamination, which resulted in US EPA entering the site in its Superfund cleanup system in 2012. Through their efforts, the US EPA cleaned the site up to bring the site to its current condition as an open field. The photo on the lower right shows you the condition of the site as it is today. At the time the site was cleaned up, the former US EPA chief, Gina McCarthy, visited the site, demonstrating the agency's commitment to remove lead contamination from this urban Hispanic communities. The city subsequently initiated condemnation in 2017 and completed the acquisition of the property in 2019. The 947 West Cullerton property is currently used by the community as unprogrammed outdoor recreational space. The department proposes to transfer the property to Neighbor Space for $1. Neighbor Space is a city-created non-for-profit land conservancy trust to support permanent community open spaces and plazas. Neighbor Space has site control of more than 100 community spaces located throughout the city. The community partners project is the El Paseo Garden. Upon transfer of the property, they will assume maintenance of the 947 Cullerton property. Their plan is to use the space as it is now, but engage the community in an iterative design build process over the next 3 years. Without the need to rush, the iterative process will provide opportunity for hands-on community building and leadership development in much the same manner that the original El Paseo Garden was established. The project has the support, just before I get to the next section here, I will point out on the illustration concept planning for this site, the expansion parcels at the upper left-hand corner, the existing El Paseo Garden has community beds toward the middle area. There's a proposed alignment of future Paseo path on the right-hand side, and they're working right now on a community orchard on the north end along Cullerton Street. The project again has the support of Alderman Byron Cicho Lopez, and as this is a community group which has proven itself to be inclusive and responsive to the community. And here's a copy of the support letter we received from the Alderman in support of the project. Lastly, the Department of Planning and Development has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project for the disposition of property located 947 West Cullerton Street, its public benefits, and project conformance with the redevelopment area plan. the department recommends that the CDC recommend to the city council the disposition of the city property to neighbor space in support of the El Paseo Community Garden. That concludes my testimony. And today I want to recognize that Ben Halpin from Neighbor Spaces here on the Zoom call, as well as Paula Acevedo, who is the lead garden group for the El Paseo Garden. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chung. Is anyone here, or is Alderman Byron Cicho Lopez on, Nelson?
I can't see who's on the Zoom call, but I did not see his name.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see his name either.
He's not here, Chairman.
Okay, would either of your teammates from Neighbor Space want to say something?
I see Paula has raised her hand.
Yeah, Paula, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Hi, everyone. I did prepare a little statement. If I could just read it. So I'm Paula Acevedo. I'm one of the co-directors. My husband and I both manage the space together. So on behalf of El Paseo Community Garden, I would like to testify in support of transferring ownership of the lot on 947 West Clarendon to Neighbor Space, our land trust. We are advocating to expand our stewardship by including the lot to protect green space on behalf of the community. Since the lot was remediated by the EPA in 2013, the community has actively used it for play, picnics, dog walking, and more. El Paseo Community Garden has proved to be an excellent model of community engagement and stewardship, praised by many throughout the city, even being awarded the 2020 MacArthur Foundation Creative Placemaking Award and the 2018 Chicago Excellence in Gardening Award with a special Larger Than Life Award. We are inclusive of all in our community and engage them through our programming and community design. We are organized 2 large community-driven murals, an outdoor classroom, a permaculture food forest, and are currently planning an ADA accessible gardening station with a picnic area. All these projects included community design meetings and with a special emphasis on the residents from our adjacent senior apartments. If we can expand to include the lot, we will facilitate a community design process to identify the community's desires. Many residents have already expressed a desire for more areas for young children to play, like a nature play garden, picnic areas, exercise stations, trees, dog runs, and public art. We're confident that we can continue to make the community's vision come to fruition while improving the quality of life for residents. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Acevedo. Commissioners, any questions for Nelson? All right, Commissioner Curtis?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, the land runs from 21st down to 21st Street. Is that correct? From Cullerton to 21st Street?
I hope this is 21st Street is on the bottom. Cullerton Avenue is on the top. The existing garden runs along the Sangamon Street platted right of way right now between Cullerton and 21st. And the action, what we're doing today is the 947 property is the yellow property, which is will be the expansion area for the community garden and the open space for the residents of Pilsen.
I'm sorry, so just the yellow property that we're considering today?
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. No other questions or comments, commissioners? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to call the item up for a vote. The resolution before us requests authority to advertise the Department of Planning and Development's intention to enter into a negotiated sale with Neighbor Space for the disposition of the property known as the El Paseo Garden at 947 West Cullerton Street in the Pilsen Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, to request alternative proposals and to approve the sale of the property to Neighbor Space if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner
Butler.
Commissioner Butler. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Thomas. It's been seconded. I'll now call the roll. Commissioners, those in favor signify by saying aye or yes. Those opposed, signify by saying no or nay. So I'm now going to begin the roll. Commissioner Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Buford, you might be muted. Commissioner Buford,
Aye.
all right. Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Newsom,
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheat,
Yes.
and Commissioner Perez votes yes. And the motion is carried. So just before we adjourn, I just wanted to say something. I think many of you know that Robert Wolf is going to be retiring at the end of the month. So congratulations, Robert, on a wonderful run here at the Department of Planning and Development. Wonderful public servant. It's been a real pleasure working with you, Robert. And I know it's sort of a long time coming for you, but I just wanted to thank you and recognize you for all the hard work you've done for Department of Planning and Development and for the CDC. So commissioners, I don't know if any of you wanted to add anything. You're free to do so.
This is Commissioner Butler. I'd just like to thank Bob for, all the assistance he's provided me since I joined the commission a number of years ago. It's been a real pleasure to work with you, and I wish you all the best in your retirement.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Thomas?
Hi, Bob, I'm just saying thank you and congratulations and good luck on your next adventure.
Yes, thanks. It'll be pretty close to home the way things are now, but eventually I'd like to travel a bit.
Yeah.
Commissioner Newsom?
Commissioner Newsom wanting to say a special thank you for all of the extras that Bob has done for me over the years. And I too wish you the very best in your retirement. And I will advise you not to necessarily become a volunteer too soon in your retirement.
Yeah, thanks.
Enjoy at least the first couple of years.
Yeah, the first summer I've had off in many years, so I'm going to enjoy it.
Very good. Thank you so much.
But, I've always enjoyed doing the CDC. It's been, since the day I started, this was an assignment that was given to me on day one, and I've enjoyed it. It's been kind of the best part of my work at DPD because it keeps things moving. I get to participate in a lot of variety of different projects, get knowledge of all the things that are happening at DPD and even other departments. So that was always useful for others in the department because I could explain things that are going on that they might not be familiar with and all the ins and outs of each deal. My goal was always to make it easy as possible on the commissioners, to make sure the staff reports had good explanations that you would understand and anticipate the kind of questions that you might want to ask about these projects. So to keep things moving as smoothly as possible and to answer all your questions as much as possible within the staff reports and presentations. So and I've enjoyed working with all the commissioners over the years, and I don't know the total number over time. There was a period where commissioners were on the board for many, many years, but there's been a bit of a turnover in the last, I guess, since Mayor Emanuel came into office. So I've gotten to know a whole different group of commissioners, and uniformly are great people, very accomplished and very dedicated to the city and the communities. So thank you very much.
Man.
Bob, this is Dwight Curtis. I want to thank you as well for all of your help and answering all of my questions. A lot of them were not intelligent questions, so thank you.
Sure.
I echo that. Thank you so much, Bob, for all your help and your patience.
Thank you.
You have a whole heap of patience, which I admire as well. So
thanks.
Congrats.
I don't know who's going to be taking over my place, but I'll help them in any way I can. And even in retirement, they can always call to just make sure things move smoothly along. And I'm glad this first Zoom meeting went well, it seems. So at least we got one of these done. Now we know how to do it in the future. It took a while to figure it all out, but we're in pretty good shape now.
It's still being live streamed.
Bob Mark Brooks, I just want to echo everybody else's sentiments. We're sorry to see you go, but best of luck in your new endeavors.
Thanks.
And thank you for acclimating all of us to this important commission.
Mhm.
Very nice. All
Say,
right.
Bob, Bob, it's Bob Buford. I want to thank you for everything. You've been a great pleasure to work with. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else, commissioners? If not, that brings us to the end of our meeting. I'll now request a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
Move, Mr. Chair.
So moved by Vice Chair Newsom. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Seconded by
That was Commissioner Butler.
Commissioner Butler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.